Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
Hello there, Internet. I am Niall.
And I am Nolan.
And we are going to be reviewing Dunkirk.
Yep, Dunkirk.
We're going to be doing a spoiler-free review, although shouldn't be a whole lot to spoil. I mean, it's based on historical events.
I don't think these characters are necessarily real people.
No, but I mean, like, the events of the movie are pretty historically accurate. But anyway,
there's a question whether a lot of people survive or not.
yeah, that's true. There's a question about a lot of the characters, whether or not they survive. But so we'll do a spoiler-free review, splash up a spoiler warning, as is tradition, and then get into a little more in-depth about the movie.
Yep.
So, I think the most standout thing to me about this movie was easily the sound.
Yeah, I mean, sitting in the theater, it was just like when planes would fly by or explosions would happen.
Yeah.
It was just, you could feel it in the floor and stuff.
I mean, and not just like how loud it was, but like the Messerschmitts sounded correctly. They had that scream, that wail to the engines that they're supposed to have. And like the pitch change as they would dive bomb and stuff, like it was all so well done.
Yeah.
I mean, from the first scene where the Messerschmitts show up to attack the troops on the beach at the beginning there, I could tell it was that they put quite a bit into the sound mixing and the audio effects of the movie. And then on top of that, like gunshots were really realistic, because if you ever fired a gun, you know that guns don't go in this like long, like drawn out explosion sound. It's a snap. It's as fast as a really loud clap. And so the gunshots were very well done. But yeah, I mean, it just the sound all around, the sound effects and the mixing on this movie was phenomenal.
Agreed. I think the only drawback I had to the movie, the problem I had, it wasn't really a problem for me, but I could see where it'd be a problem for other people, was how disjointed it was, because it tells basically three stories interwoven, right, but they're all out of order.
Yeah. And
so things don't happen chronologically. You'll have, like, it'll follow someone's story for a while, then it'll jump back to the previous day and follow someone else's story.
Right.
And it jumps around back and forth, and you kind of really have to be paying attention to see where things line up.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as, like, a Tarantino movie, where it's like we're jumping back and forth in the timeline in regards to the same character.
Yeah, but in Tarantino movies, they at least label when time jumps happen, usually.
Yeah.
This was not. And at first it was a little weird, like, wait, it was just nighttime, what just happened?
Yeah, there's a couple of major events, and they're pretty much all to do with Tom Hardy's character, that really help you, like, pin down when certain events were happening. So you go, okay, so now I'm seeing that thing that Tom Hardy did, 20 minutes ago in the movie. I'm seeing it from this character's perspective now. So I know it gives you an idea of about how far ahead of everything that character is. And
yeah, but you really kind of got to be paying attention to line things up in your mind. I could see where that'd be a problem for some viewers, where it might confuse some people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, overall, the movie does a very good job of telling the events of Dunkirk itself.
It doesn't really go into depth into what led to that.
The French occupied the Maginot Line, is what happened.
Yeah, but it didn't go into detail about the military blunders that led to the Germans coming in there and led to the Germans getting that far, all the way up to the beaches, and why everyone was falling back. It didn't go into that history. It just
sort of assumes that that in the early parts of the war, the British Expeditionary Force went into France, helped the French fight, and the Belgians fight, and they got pushed back to the Atlantic, or to the Channel. It's just assumed that that happened, and that's where we pick up.
Right. It literally opens with that shot of him holding that flyer.
That's in the trailer.
Yeah, you're surrounded, so we're gonna kill you.
Yeah, and the whole timeline of the movie takes place over the course of 24 hours. About, do you think? Maybe 2 days.
I think it's a couple days.
Yeah. But yeah, it follows basically 3 different perspectives. Follows a couple of soldiers who are just trying really desperately to get on a ship back to England. They're just trying to finagle their way onto a ship to get out of France. It follows Tom Hardy, who plays a RAF pilot.
And his wingman.
And a couple of Spitfires. And then it follows the old man on the boat.
Mr. Dawson.
Mr. Dawson.
Played by Mark Rylance.
Yeah.
You may remember from Bridge of Spies.
Yep. But it follows him and his son and his son's friend, they're crewing one of the many ships that were activated, or boats rather, that were activated by order of the British government to sail across the channel and pick up soldiers, which actually happened because the British were so concerned about making sure they had the means to defend England. They didn't want to park multiple destroyers in range of the Luftwaffe attacks, right, and potentially lose them, because they have to sit there while they're being loaded.
Yeah, especially when they're only going to send 3 fighters to defend them from the Luftwaffe.
Yeah, I mean there were other flights, but yeah, they were very sparse. Because the British were so concerned about saving materiel to defend England, they didn't want to put all of it, let it all get destroyed, and then have nothing to defend the homeland with. So they activated all these little fishing trawlers and tugs and little pleasure yachts.
Yeah, a little pleasure yacht was the what we followed.
Yeah, and because they're small enough and so dispersed that if some of them got sunk, you wouldn't lose a whole lot of guys, and they could also come in a lot closer to shore. They didn't need a full-on pier to dock with, so they could pick up guys straight from the beach and not have to go to the dock, which the Germans had zeroed in with their artillery. So
yeah, there were these holes in the dock that they had laid planks on to balance across, get across on.
Yeah. So, and it's it's a very interesting movie as far as just seeing these different perspectives of the same event. Seeing how it all sort of comes together.
Mm-hmm. I want to say that when we showed up, we were not planning to see it in IMAX.
No, this is my fault. I had apparently misread the showtimes, and I thought we were seeing a regular showing, because the theater we go to, the regular screens, there's four regular screens that are really big. They're not quite IMAX size, but they're still really big screens.
Mm-hmm.
And so, seeing a big blockbuster like Dunkirk on opening weekend, you're guaranteed you're seeing it on one of those screens. But we show up and we go, oh crap, well, we don't feel like waiting around an extra 40 minutes to see the next non-IMAX showing. So we went ahead and we bit the bullet and saw it in IMAX.
But what I was saying is I'm kind of glad we did, though, because of the the scope of it. And I think IMAX has a better sound system too, doesn't it? Doesn't it come with a better sound system?
Probably by default, but again, the theater we go to is so new.
Yeah, it's not like we would have really lost much seeing it in a regular screen, but it was just kind of such a big film,
because so much of it is shot in 70mm as well.
Yeah.
Which it actually makes proper use of, unlike The Hateful Eight, which was just a colossal waste of money to film in 70mm.
Yeah. We'll not get into that. But yeah, this... I mean, everyone's seen... Christopher Nolan is known for like these big, huge set pieces and big, grandiose filmmaking. And he really puts it to use in this. It's just, huge, wide shots of, the sea and, the sky and ocean, just all this great...
And like with... while tracking, Spitfires across the screen, and like there's a shot from the trailer that I remember very specifically that it shows 3 Spitfires flying in formation from left to right. That shot's done in 70mm, and it's like it looks really good.
Yeah.
And then some of like a lot of the up close shots on the boat were done in 70mm.
I think that might have been actually so they could get, because it's such a confined space, you could get more into the shot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I could see that, I guess.
So you can get multiple characters, you can get the background and stuff, so it doesn't feel so, I don't know, claustrophobic and close, even though they were very tight shots.
Right.
I mean, there's not even room to do a wide shot. You don't have a full body shot anywhere on those boats.
Yeah. But yeah, and Tom Hardy's a total badass.
Yeah.
In this movie.
I see one thing.
We'll get into that in more detail.
There's
the spoiler part, but
one thing I noticed after we left. There's hardly any dialogue in this movie.
There's very little dialogue, and the other thing I noticed that was very striking. I mentioned to you when the movie was done. I don't know if I want to mention it now or in the spoiler. Probably save for the spoiler part.
Okay.
Just I don't know how much of a spoiler it is, per se, but I think it's a real testament to Christopher Nolan's storytelling ability.
Yeah. Because he did write this, right? I believe he wrote it.
Oh, let's find out. Yeah, he wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just it all comes together very well, and Tom Hardy's a total badass, and like the captain of the little boat's kind of a badass in his own way.
The old man. Mark Rylance.
Yeah. And so I mean, it's just daring heroics all around in this movie.
Yes, lots of daring do's.
So, but yeah, highly recommend this movie. I might actually go see it again while it's still in theater. But yeah, it's just like all the hair on my arms stood up when those first planes showed up. I can't get over that.
All right.
And although I do caution, if that kind of thing upsets you, like don't go see it, because it will be tenfold in this movie. If like the beach scene in Saving Private Ryan, or the scene where they're getting shelled in Carentan,
it's not as bad as those. I don't think it's not. It's not gory.
It's not gory. But like just the tense and the tenseness and the stress and all of that.
Well, it's it's very stressful. The score adds to that. There's all this like really like building tension, like these tracks like really just build
and like
the
they're
tension.
they do it very subtly. Like it's not, you almost don't notice it. The score.
Yeah, until it's like you're sitting there and your heart's pounding along with the beat.
And then
the score.
Bullet flies through the hull of the boat they're in or something.
Right. But yeah, something I noticed, even though there's obviously a lot of people die in this, there's not much blood. It's usually what seeps through a bandage is what you see as far as blood. There's no real gore or blood in the movie, although a lot of people do get killed. You see them die on screen, but you don't see the results of that, if you get my meaning.
But yeah, so highly recommend you go see it. Is that all we can? Is that about as much as
I
we
think
can
so.
say
I
for,
think that's about what we need to say for
a non-spoiler bit?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So here's your spoiler warning.
Right.
Right here. Here. So Tom Hardy, man, what a badass.
Yeah. So he's a I don't think he's the leader of the.
No, the
leader
of the flight gets shot down really early on.
Right. But he's second in command, I guess, and so he takes command. He and his wingman.
Yeah, they take it upon themselves to do what they can. Like, they know that there's not many of them out there, and so they're doing what they can to help keep the Luftwaffe off of the ships and off of the beach, the soldiers on the beach. Although they spend most of the movie out at sea, because like as they're flying, as they're flying towards Dunkirk,
several ships already left.
Well, yeah, several ships have already left, but they've been jumped. They were jumped by a couple of flights of Messerschmitts, and then they come across a bomber heading for a minesweeper ship, and they know they have to try to take it out. His wingman goes down during that, but gets saved by the boat captain.
Right.
Meanwhile, he manages to take out the bomber, but not before it manages to capsize the minesweeper. But he does manage to take it out before it's able to directly attack all the soldiers still on the water. But it crashes down into the oil slick, which is unfortunate. But at least it wasn't able to bomb the boats that were helping the soldiers out of the water.
Yeah, and then also he takes out this one last Messerschmitt at the end.
Oh yeah, right at the end, like you hear
he's out of fuel.
He's out of fuel at this point. He's already made one pass over the beach, gliding, and he runs out of fuel over the beach. So he's already made one pass gliding, and like you hear the whine of the Messerschmitt engine. It's a very distinctive sound, so you know it's coming.
And by this point in the movie, you know exactly what it is. Yeah, you've heard it so many times.
You've heard it so many times, and it's like not just the engine itself is very distinct. It makes a very distinct noise while it's in its dive. Just because, like, if you know anything about the physics of the way sound waves work, you understand why. But it makes a very different and distinct sound while it's diving, and so it shows I think he's a naval captain.
He's a commander.
A commander.
Kenneth Branagh.
I don't know if that translates the same from the British Navy into the American Navy.
It does.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay,
Commander Bolton is his name.
So he's a lieutenant colonel equivalent.
Yeah.
Roughly. But he's the one commanding all the naval operations as far as the evacuation goes. It shows him like staring up in the sky, and he has this look on his face like, God damn it. Another one.
And they're like, and the last boat is leaving. Well, getting
no,
ready.
It's not even the last boat. At this point,
right.
The little boats have just shown up.
Right, that's right.
And so the whole beach is like been cheering, morale's back up, and people are getting on the boats, and he's like, yes, it's happening, and and he just like has this look of like, now, and then it shows the plane just take a dive into the drink, and he's like looking around, and you just see the Spitfire, Tom Hardy Spitfire, just glide by soundlessly.
Yeah, it's just completely silent. He's like the smile that he looks and realizes it's completely silent, and the propeller isn't turning, and he has this look like, oh damn, it's just like this.
Yeah, and it's like almost comical.
Yeah,
in this movie where there's been so much emphasis on the sound effects. In the music building, it's just this like completely silent shot of this Spitfire just gliding across the shot, and then there's all the cheering from the soldiers on the beach and stuff. It's just Tom Hardy being a badass, and he like loops around a couple times, and eventually lands on the beach. But after everyone's gotten on the boats, basically, and he lands too far off,
and he torches his plane
and gets captured. Unfortunately,
he gets captured by the Germans.
Yeah,
But it sort of leads us into what you were about to say back.
Oh yeah, there's basically no Germans in this movie. There's like 4 or 5 Messerschmitts.
But you never see the pilots.
You never see the pilots. There's a bomber. Again, you don't see the pilot or the gunners. And then at the very end, there's 2 grenadiers that come into shot that are blurry. They're in the background.
You see a squad crest a hill in the...
Oh yeah, very briefly.
They crest a hill, but it's just silhouettes against like the sunset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, well, it wouldn't be against the sunset in that direction. But, it's just silhouettes against like the evening. It's twilight.
Right.
Sky.
And they're really far off in that shot too.
Right.
So yeah, there's...
And then even the 2 that capture them, you never see their faces.
Yeah, they're blurry, because it's like zooming in real close on Tom Hardy, and so you don't.
One's got his back to the camera, I think. So.
Yeah, and so you don't even see them. You don't see any Germans in this whole movie, yet they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at. Where it's very very telling of Christopher Nolan's storytelling capabilities. Mm-hmm. That you can have this movie and like you don't show the villain at all.
I was saying I wonder if that was deliberate so that it would play better in Germany or at a wider release in Germany.
Possibly.
Which is, it could have also just been like Christopher Nolan saying, "You would be real interesting if we never see the Germans." Yeah. It could have just as much been that. But yeah, I could see where there's absolutely no like Nazi iconography.
Yeah, there's the Maltese cross on the Messerschmitts and on the bomber, but that's it.
Yeah.
There's no swastikas on anyone. There's no.
I was about to say there's no like real like Germans doing evil things, except they did bomb a medical transport.
Yes, they did. They shelled it with artillery, didn't they? Or was it bombed?
It was.
Oh, it was bombed. Because I remember pointing out to you, it was like, there's no way those planes can't see that it's a medical transport.
It's all white with red crosses all over it.
It's all white. Has 3 giant red crosses on each side of the thing.
And on the stacks.
There's no way they don't know it's a medical transport.
Right. That was pretty evil. Because I think that was still... Even the Germans didn't really do that. I don't think. They kind of avoided that sort of thing.
I don't think at that point in the war, anyway. Because, Dunkirk is very early on.
Yeah.
I want to say it was 38?
It was 40, I thought.
Was it that late?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it was 40. Oh, it was June 1940. Okay. So,
But, yeah, other than that,
yeah,
you just, like, accepted that, like, okay, this is war, they're fighting a war, but, so, anything else that... oh yeah, there was this one character that we were trying to figure out through most of the movie if he was like a German spy or...
Oh yeah, because he doesn't say anything.
Right, so...
And the first time we see him is burying...
He's burying this English guy and putting his boots on.
Yeah, putting the English guy's boots on.
And
all we see of the English guy, though, is his feet poking out of the sand.
Right, and so you're thinking, well, maybe he just took the guy's boots.
Because his were ruined or whatever.
Yeah, which happens all the time in those situations. Yeah. But I was sitting there thinking, like, man, he could be a German spy. Then I'm like looking at him, like, he looks more French to me. No, I'm serious. He has the dark curly hair.
Yeah.
And I was looking. I think the actor's actually Welsh. I was looking at, but because he doesn't speak at all, which was a little suspect. Sometimes he acted like maybe he didn't really understand everything that was being said to him. And he was a little shifty.
When they finally managed to get on that first ship that they got on, rather than following the line of dudes down below deck, he sort of goes off to the side and is purposely like sought out the outside of the ship to hang out at.
Right. So anyway, I was sitting there thinking at first like he might be a German spy. I was thinking, well, he could also be French, and knowing that the priority was to get the British out of there, and the French came second.
Yeah.
It would make sense if you disguise yourself as a Brit and snuck aboard a ship, which turned out to be the case. What was actually going on is he was French.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Just what's interesting is like the whole movie basically takes place like in Tom Hardy's plane or following his plane in that ship or in that boat and on that beach.
Yeah.
And for a Christopher Nolan movie, don't basically only have 3 sets. You know,
yeah, and very sparse sets.
Very sparse sets.
I mean, there's not much actual construction necessary for. Probably the. I mean, I'm sure on a lot of that stuff on the boat was a set that they shot on a soundstage or something.
Yeah. Because it'd be way too expensive to actually sail a boat out into the water and film it.
They did have a number of boats they did sail out into the water and film, but I think those were all like the wide shots and aerial shots and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a moment in the credits that, mentioned that it was like the following small ships recreated their voyage or something. It listed these boats.
Yeah.
That were originally the boats that did do that, sail across the channel to pick the soldiers up.
Yep.
That were both still around and existed, so they did it again.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all we have to say about that.
Yeah. None of the except for the one kid, none of the POV characters died.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Tom Hardy got captured.
Yeah, that's
don't know what happened to him, but
Do you want? Okay, so one thing that kind of bothered me about that is like when he made before he was. So when he shot down that Messerschmitt over the beach, he was like 100 feet off the ground, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
At what point do you not just go, "That's as much as I'm going to be able to do because I can't gain altitude." And
well,
land.
I think the movie kind of played with time a little bit. It seemed, because it was getting dark, it seemed like it was longer before he landed, but I think he just went in a straight line from there and had to land like really far down the beach.
It could be.
Because the Germans were literally on that hill when the fleet of little boats showed up.
Yeah.
Because they were shooting at that one.
Right, they're shooting at that one that had been beached.
Yeah. So they were literally right there. So I think it just seemed, from our perspective, because they had moved on. Again, I mean, the movie's not told chronologically, so they had moved on to, after everyone had gotten off, and that the commander decides to stay to ensure that the French are able to get on any boats the British decide to send. I guess he figured, they'll send a boat for me, so I'll bring some French back with me.
I like to imagine that Tom Hardy went on to be the RAF guy in The Great Escape.
Yeah. Anyway, and then they cut back to Tom Hardy, and so I think in our mind we're saying, well, that's a later time, but it could have easily been like, well, let's go back in time and see what happened to Tom Hardy.
That could be, yeah.
So,
but I mean, he was like really low over the beach when he shot down.
Well, I know, but he's gliding down, and still, I mean, it would take some distance to land. Before he could land, it would be fairly far away.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so I think that's all we have to say on that. Tomorrow we're seeing Valerian.
Yes.
I heard it's very French and very crap, what's his name? Son director.
Oh, like very much in his style?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a distinctive style. I'm pretty sure he used to...
Luc Besson.
Yeah.
I've heard it's very, very French and very Luc Besson. What is like the exact quote I've seen about that movie.
I'm not sure, but I think he used to write for Heavy Metal magazine, or whatever it's actually called in Europe. I think it's only called Heavy Metal in North America.
Yeah, I could see that.
So it does. I mean, Valerian. If you ever like read any of the comic, French comics have a distinctive style and storytelling and look about them. And Valerian is very much in that vein.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the movie, especially because with the French director and writer, I'm sure the movie keeps with that. So I'm excited for it though.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good, not great, but really good.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I kind of feel like. I don't know, just judging from the trailers, it looks like the kind of movie that could easily lose itself in the visuals.
Yeah.
And lack in storytelling because of that.
I could also see where a lot of people would look at it and see a Star Wars ripoff and then just like dismiss it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Valerian comic predates Star Wars, not by a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, it came out of the late 60s and the early 70s. And it ran for a long time, but I think it initially was published in early 70s. So it doesn't predate Star Wars by a lot, but
no, but it'll have a lot of the same source material as a result.
Yeah.
Flash Gordon and whatnot. So but yeah, we're seeing that tomorrow when our review of it comes out in relation to this review though.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll try to get that out. The review for this is going up probably Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
As he looks at the clock.
And then I think we'll try to get the Valerian review out Saturday also.
Okay. Otherwise coming up, what's next week? We never determined what next week was, did we?
Yeah, we did. Atomic Blonde.
Oh yeah, it's Atomic Blonde. With Charlize Theron.
Yep.
Excited.
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty good. So that'll be cool. Expect to see that review, whatever, next weekend at some point.
Yep.
And our stream Sunday night. So tomorrow by your release schedule. Probably delayed. I'd say very definitely delayed. We got stuff.
Yeah.
We got stuff we're doing. So
probably be in the evening, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, we've been doing them at like 4:35.
Yeah.
That one will probably be later in the evening. So, but it will come. We still haven't figured out what game we're playing.
I thought.
Nope.
Hack and slash. I thought that's what we wanted to play.
Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway,
we'll figure it out, and we'll stream it on Sunday regardless. So, until Valerian, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye bye.